guys. Hi, nice to talk to you guys today. My name is Sriram, Hariharan. I was the CEO of an Octoshop, and now I'm a staff engineer at Ibotta. But a couple years ago, I was a student at UT like y'all, sitting in this classroom. So it was actually pretty surreal for me because I remember I was like taking Mike Scott's 314 class, taking L's in this exact classroom. So it's pretty awesome to be back here and talking to y'all. Also, the name of that octopus is Ollie, which is going to be on the test. So, yeah, so like I said, I went to UT, I graduated in 2021. I'm from Houston, and one of the things that I like to say is that I wasn't cut out for school or frankly work. I still don't really know what I want to do with my life, but I started getting into coding and tech and stuff in high school just because I watched the Social Network movie. And I think that's, honestly, I've talked to a lot of people in tech, and that's generally their avenue for getting into computer science, just because there's a certain allure to running your own business that was captured in that movie. And so when I was learning coding in high school, I actually kind of sucked at it. I didn't really know how to code very well, but I still was interested in it. So I applied to CS at UT, I got in, and I came here, and like I said, I took L's in that first class at UT. So it all started when I DDoSed UT. Basically, like I said, that first 314 class, I did really poorly. I retook it, and I didn't get an internship that first summer. And so as everyone knows in CS, not getting an internship, it sucks, right? You want to be getting those internships. And so I was sitting at home my freshman year summer, and I didn't want to waste my time. So I started to learn how to code, basically, for real, actually making projects. I started watching YouTube tutorials on how to make websites. I made a couple of really bad websites, and then I was like, okay, might as well learn how to make a Chrome extension. And so I was interested in solving an actual problem that I had, which was registering for classes. And so I made UT Registration Plus, which I'm sure some of y'all have used in the past. The first iteration of UT Registration Plus did not look like that. It was just a bar graph and then the name of the class. And then I launched that, and I think I got a grand total of 5 people using it. And I was like, okay, this is pretty sick. I think even just getting one person to use it was pretty cool for me. But at that point, I posted on the UT long form memes Facebook page, which doesn't exist anymore. And around 1,500 people started using it, it started to get more and more awesome. People started to share with each other, and soon around 40,000, 50,000 students were using it, pretty much everybody at UT. Now, going back to what UT Registration Plus was doing behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, whenever you save a class, what I was doing was checking the status of that class every 30 seconds. This was fine when it was just me and a couple of other friends, but when you have 40,000 students using the product, making a request for every class you've saved every 30 seconds, you start ranking up the requests. So I remember sitting in my OS class, sophomore year, and I get an email from the UT administration. And I'm like, okay, what is this? I'm not paying attention in class, let me look at my email. And they said, hey, we need you to take down the extension. We're running into a lot of traffic issues. And I immediately closed my laptop, ran out of the class, and emailed them and said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm taking down the feature that's causing that. It turns out I was making close to 3 or 4 million requests to UT servers every hour. And the really great thing about that is that because I was making those requests from all of your computers, they were all coming from residential IPs, they were all coming from different EIDs, so UT didn't know where it was coming from. They physically were seeing a different person making millions of requests every single day, and so they didn't want to go and accuse a random student. And so someone in their office who was working there said, hey, I have this extension, maybe that's what's causing this. And so basically that's how I DDoSed UT. I was really scared. I thought I was going to be expelled, but they were really cool about it, and they took me out to lunch. And I guess that's where I learned my first lesson, which is it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, right? Because obviously UT was not going to let me spam their servers. But we still did it, and we were able to grow the extension out to 40,000, 50,000 people. So thanks for helping us cost UT money. Also, we cured that guy's leprosy. Which is pretty awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is exactly what happened at UT. So, like I said, we built this DDoS engine, and right about when this happened was when COVID really started to take off in 2019. I don't know if you all remember that first couple of months during COVID where you couldn't find toilet paper, you couldn't find eggs, you couldn't find milk. That was kind of the situation when we came back from school during spring break. We thought it was going to be like a 2-week spring break, and then we ended up staying our whole pretty much junior and senior years at home. And so we came back home, we saw all of our grandparents and parents, they were going to Walmart, they were going to H-E-B, trying to find milk and eggs and toilet paper. They would go to this store, they would say, sorry, we don't have the product. We go to the other store, we don't have the product. And so people are really putting themselves at risk of getting COVID for literally no reason, right? Like, why are you going to these stores? Why can't we find out whether a product is in stock or not before you get there? And so me and my friends, we built out this first iteration of this website called instock.org. Right? We took the same web scraping technology we used at UT for UT Registration Plus and built it so that instead of effectively DDoSing UT, we were DDoSing Walmart and Target and other places, right? And so we built that out in 2 weeks, and then we posted about it on Facebook and Reddit and a bunch of other places. We got around 850,000 users in that 2 weeks. That was pretty awesome. We ended up being featured on USA Today, Dallas Morning News, Good Morning America, a bunch of cool places. And so this is when we realized, okay, we have something here. We have something here, but the main problem is the fact that there's no retention with this product, and that we weren't making that much money. I mean, come on, it's like toilet paper. We're not going to be making much money off of that. So we didn't want to just shutter the project, so we pivoted to a whole nother idea. Which is that we realized that our main way of making money was through affiliate commissions. So generally, if y'all don't know how affiliate links work, is if you click on a link that we provide to you, we make a % commission on that cart that you purchase at that store, right? And that's really, really small for toilet paper. But if we're directing you to a laptop, to a GPU, to a computer, that ends up racking up, and we're making a lot of money that way. So generally, between different retailers, there's a lot of disparity, right? If you're looking at Amazon, if you're looking at Walmart, you can sometimes save $200, $300. So if we're able to get you from Amazon to another store, we're able to incentivize you to purchase and make money that way. And so that's where we realized, there's a way to put all these ideas together to create a utopia within e-commerce. We want to have those price comparisons to take people off of Amazon. We want to be able to show you where's the fastest shipping, and then we want to get those back in stock notifications. So if toilet paper, God forbid, goes out of stock again, we can tell you where to get it. And so we built the first version, which is this premise sentence on Arkansas. And I'm gonna mute that because it's very annoying. But it worked on TikTok. So we posted about it on TikTok, and it was not an overnight success. Generally, we built it out, and then we posted it on TikTok, and we were kind of discouraged by that. Which is, honestly, looking back, was totally normal, right? Why would somebody use this random Chrome extension, we're gonna steal your passwords, right? But we stuck with it, and we just really, really grew it just by guerrilla marketing. So we posted 15, 16 different TikToks again and again and again, same format over and over again, until we started getting million view TikToks pretty consistently, right? And oh, cool, you can hover over it. That's when we grew the extension out. It's around 130,000 users. We're making pretty good ARR, and we got approached by a unicorn in the space called Ibotta. Ibotta has been here for a while. They're partnered with a lot of the major retailers. I don't know if you all have used them, but they basically give you digital coupons and cashback if you're buying grocery items, right? They had a browser extension at the time, but they wanted to add price comparison and back in stock notifications and some of these really cool features to their product. And at the time, they were pre-IPO, they were looking to increase their I guess tech stack and just what they were working with. And so this is the situation that we saw when Ibotta reached out to us and said, hey, what if you guys got acquired by us? So we were pretty interested by that, so we flew to Denver, we talked to them, we had a pretty detailed due diligence process, and then we signed the deal, and we ended up taking the offer, and yeah, it was a pretty awesome time for us. And so, yeah, like I said, we were acquired. It ended up being around a multi-million-dollar acquisition, and it was really cool because this picture right here is like one of the first times any of us had ever met each other. We built the entire business on Discord. Like I literally didn't know what my co-founders' faces looked like for like 6 months, which is crazy. Like we all ended up really handsome, but like who could have guessed that? And so like all of these different random stories, like trying to tie them together, I think that there's a lot of lessons which you learn from social media and from movies like The Social Network, which I realized that just weren't true, right? One of them, for example, which I mentioned, was the fact that like you have to have a co-working space. You have to know what your co-founders look like. You actually don't. Like we were able to build that business without knowing anything. And so that comes to the first thing. You don't need money to start a company. Like all of our marketing, you can see that 2 million viewed TikTok, right? Entirely guerrilla. Like we didn't have money. We were poor college students, especially during COVID. So we just spammed TikToks, man. Like we just spammed Reddit posts like AstroTurf to hell, which it gets a really bad rep. But like if you're a really hungry early stage startup, you got to do that kind of thing, right? And don't reach for getting like marketing dollars immediately. You have to really be scrappy with it. You don't need to be the best. This is the first iteration of the website. A bunch of gray blocks, right? Like this is literally what we were thinking about when we were launching the product. And so it does the job, right? Like, we got some random clip art of a guy running. I don't know how that applies to e-commerce, but you just don't need to be the best product out there. And then you also don't have to be the first, right? Like I said, this is a browser extension. Y'all have probably used Honey before, or Wikibuy, or Popcart. There's so many products out there that did the exact same thing, right? So this is oftentimes when I'm talking to like newer entrepreneurs, a big like discouraging factor for them, which is the fact that like, oh, someone else has done this. Like, why would I want to do it? It doesn't matter. There's so much market out there for you to capture that it doesn't matter if there's already like an incumbent. Frankly, like Popcart, right? They had 15,000 users when we started out, when we had 0, right? We beat them within 3 months. And it's simply because it comes back to the next thing, which is that all that really matters is that you need to ship. Like you just need to like get stuff out there, right? All these are the startups that I worked on. They all like pretty much failed. I've had like 2 or 3 successes, right? But I don't even have like all of the startups I worked on. At the end of the day, what matters is that you're just like in the game, right? You can get preoccupied with the fact that, oh man, there's an incumbent. Oh man, we need to make our buttons like a pretty color, right? But that's not what actually decides success in startups. It's just the ability to move fast and the ability to innovate and do what you guys have done during the hackathon, which is just make cool shit at the end of the day. So that's a very quick rundown of kind of the history of the product. I wanted to leave a lot of time for questions just because I went over a lot of things. So yeah. So that's a really great question. SureWalk, the current version of SureWalk is not a miss. Like it's a very big success. It's just that while I was working with Convergent, we were working on making our own app for SureWalk. We built it out, and we were like really excited to get it out there and have UT students use it. And then they came back to us and they said that there was a lot of like security issues with the app. Apparently, like someone could get our JOT token and then masquerade as a driver and then pick up random students. So this is why that was not what ended up launching. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. But yeah. Sure.
Can you talk more about your guerrilla advertising?
Yeah, so I can go really in the weeds with it, or I can be at a very high level. But with TikTok, it's really fascinating because like everything is really dependent on that feed, right? Generally, people don't really search as much on TikTok as they do on other platforms. So you want to piggyback off of trends really, really well, right? Like if there's a trending song or a trending sound, you want to use that. If you want to, you have something really shocking at the beginning, and then you switch to like, hey, have you heard of this browser extension, like something like that, right? That's generally what got us a lot of traction. Like I said, on Reddit, there's astroturfing. So it's you can basically just post on Reddit and get different people to help you upload it. There's also, we did a giveaway, which was pretty cool on Reddit. We ended up being like one of the most uploaded posts on the Xbox subreddit. We were giving away an Xbox. So yeah, there's just a lot of like very scrappy things you can do with just a lot of these online platforms. So.
When you were making your first website, total paper and stuff, what told you that the items were in stock? Was it because of the API or?
Yeah, so we use a combination of web scraping and using APIs. Generally, all of these APIs they're rate limited, right? They don't want people to do what we did, and so we did a lot of web scraping. Effectively, what we did is we built like our own like language for web scraping to make it much faster. We tried to do all of our requests on the client. Again, I know I'm going like very in the weeds here, but basically we didn't want to pay money for servers, and we didn't want our backend to get IP banned. So we did most of our requests on the client, did our scraping on the client, and so that gives us a lot of flexibility. Because generally you run into like cores and a bunch of other issues. If you, yeah.
So how did you do scraping on the client? Was it like a Chrome extension, and you're using your users as data sources?
I mean, that's what UT Registration Plus did, right? Like that's how we were able to scrape UT and make registration slow that semester.
Out of sheer curiosity, that would
It is, yeah. So there was a LinkedIn. Actually, this is a great question. I think 2019, LinkedIn made a lawsuit against a company, right, where they basically were trying to say it's illegal to do that. But the ruling of that case was that it's legal to do that as long as that you're not scraping behind a login, right? You're not like using user credentials to go and like scrape it, right? So as long as it's visible for everyone, it's possible.
So as long as you're not scraping any of the user's personal information that they want them to see.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess. Yeah. Or anything that they block behind the login.
Is the only difference with the apps on the right that you just ship really quickly compared to the apps on the left? Or was the case if you're shipping quickly on all of them and there was some other factor that drove the success of the environment?
No, everything we shipped quickly. We just had bad ideas. No, I don't want to say it like that. I think that there's a lot of market factors, right? Like OptiShop was a success. We did a lot of work. We put a lot of work into it, but frankly, like COVID had a very big impact on it, right? One of the biggest users of the product was people trying to find GPUs, right? Scalpers, right? And also people fighting against the scalpers. And so we ended up having like whole discords of people who were trying to find GPUs and other people trying to resell the GPUs and just using OptiShop. Exactly. I guess like, market factors are important, right? But if you don't ship fast, you're not going to account for the market factor. You're just going to fail no matter what. So, yeah.
Question, regarding your initial startups and where we're at today with the cloud, would you say for an entrepreneur who's bootstrapping, are you recommending going serverless and going full in the cloud? Are you trying to say avoid these services? If you had to do it all over again, would you kind of get sucked into the process of spending money on AWS and then, 6-7 months down the road, be locked in with them, or you just try to build their own servers? Obviously, on the client side, you've got this gold mine that you don't have to use your own, but there is still some back-end stuff that you have to do.
Yeah.
Where do you see that running the company?
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple things. In 6 to 7 months, if you're not seeing traction, your backend being serverless or not serverless is not your problem. Like, at the end of the day, whatever you're able to code in faster, right? Just do that, right? You can fix the scaling issues once you have actual users, right? Almost all of startups, they fail because they can't get users, right? So whatever you're able to code in, if you have to code your backend in Java, if you have to code your backend in Scratch, do it. Like, just get something out there is, I guess, the advice I'm trying to give. Yeah.
I think it's interesting how you talk about how like just getting out as quick as possible is the most important. So I'm curious, how long did it take you, like how many man hours between you and your co-founders it usually take to get to like what you would call like a serviceable product?
Yeah, I think you can probably get an MVP out in a week.
You think so?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of y'all are UT students. You're very competent. You've taken all the classes here, right? You kind of have all the tools you need to make an MVP in a week, right? You might not believe in yourself, but I'm sure of it. When I say MVP, though, that doesn't include dark mode, right? That doesn't include like a bunch of other random things like dark mode.
Security.
Sorry, go ahead.
Security, like you said, that one up.
Oh yeah, that was that miss. I 100% take responsibility for it. That was like totally on us. But yeah, I think like for the most part, your MVP should pretty much just validate your like initial hypothesis, right? The initial hypothesis of ET Registration Plus was that students want to see grade distributions without having to open another tab to Catalyst, right? That was validated very quickly, right? OctaShop, people want to be able to see when a product is cheaper on Walmart when they're on Amazon, right? Like, there's a lot of like these very quick hypotheses that you want to test very quickly. Otherwise, like your whole business, like you might be raising like $50 million and then spend 5 years on it, and then at the end of the day, you don't get anything, right? You just waste a lot of investor money. So you want to validate these hypotheses very quickly. Yeah.
I think everywhere else, a lot of people are just chasing high-paying jobs with the lowest risks, do job applications, try your referrals, and do all the lead code they can do. So, how did you have the motivation to learn these skills and to dedicate time to create these pursuits, ventures, rather than like what motivated you to do something that's it's just so different?
Yeah, I think that. Well, in my case, I think failing conventionally did that. Like what you're describing, right? Getting an internship, lead coding, I didn't do very well at that, right? Like I had to find another approach. And then it turned out that I really enjoyed that approach, right? I think that for a lot of people, right, like in terms of ROI for like time spent, lead coding is like the #1 thing you could do, right? But once you get that FANG job, once you get that like after you finish lead coding and you're working on an internal tool at like Meta, like sometimes some people they're not like fulfilled by that, right? Like sometimes you might want to work on something for your own. You might want to capture some of that social network energy, right? Which is why I still think people should try and make their own projects, make their own startups and grow it. It can fail, and it is what it is, right? Like you can have a million failures and nobody cares, right? Like you're at least in the game, you're trying stuff. So, yeah.
The interesting thing about all this is how do you identify holes in, like it takes a certain amount of creativity to find a hole in the market and try to make a product for it. Do you come up with that alone, or how does that process work? Because that's a lot of products in a short amount of time. And just like, where's the interest at? How much you live and breathe it? Like how much you figure out where these holes are?
Yeah, you actually brought up a couple of different things, which I'd like to touch on, right? #1, this is not a solo effort, right? This is a team effort, right? So I had my co-founders around me, and so when I was feeling kind of burnt out and tired, I had them to hype me up and say, like, let's do it, right? And so I think that's a common thing, people get burnt out, which is why I personally think that you should have a co-founder, right? The other aspect you said around the, like, validating the ideas and just, finding those holes in the market, I think that we all have a bunch of just like experience living our lives that we're primed, or actually let me put it this way, like the experience we have just living our lives gives us business opportunities just lying everywhere, right? Like if somebody is really into skateboarding, I'm sure they know, some optimization to the skateboarding industry they can build a business for, right? Like everyone here is into different hobbies and things, like maybe like focusing directly on startups might not be the best approach, right? Like if you're somebody who's really into the tech industry and like it's like you read Steve Jobs' biography before you go to sleep, right? Maybe that's what you want to do, but like normal people, we live our lives. Somebody might be like, I go to the gym, and I want to have a better lifting app, right? Like there are different opportunities which kind of arise from our experiences in life. So just try and find ways to make your own life easier at the end of the day, right? That's what UT Registration Plus was. Like I hated registering for classes. I wanted to not have 50 different Catalyst tabs open, and then that's what motivated me to make it. So. Yeah.
What's next for you? Like, how can we reach you to pitch you our ideas?
Yeah, so feel free to reach me. That's my email. That's my number. Like, hit me up. Like, I probably have like just too much time to respond to calls. But I think that I still don't know what's next for me, right? Like, I tend to work on a bunch of different projects, like I've shown, and try and validate them. And then sometimes I'm just